Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 136 of the Dudes and Beer podcast with the hiccup on the intro. I don't know what that's about. There it is. So yes, welcome back to the cave in Austin, Texas. I have been on the road the last couple of episodes. So good to be back in the studio with my good friend Stephen Bishop. No, man, time just flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Steve's like, man, you didn't even tell me. 1 week.
I tell you
like,
what.
One week I just found out you were like on the road.
He's
like,
missing for 30 minutes and he comes back. He was in Boston. I'm like, what?
Yeah, sorry. But glad to be back here. Steve Bishop is with us, as well as Julie Connolly. And tonight on episode 136, we are very, very happy to be joined by retired Sergeant Carlos Vasquez of the Army 12B Combat Engineers, as well as Homes for Our Troops. We will be talking about the fantastic cause of homesforourtroops.org, what that is all about, the fact that they help build homes for our veterans, things like that. But let's start off with a little bit of your story. We were talking about it before the show, but I'd like you to share it with our audience. Let's start off with, I'm always interested with how people came to serve in our military to begin with. Was it family tradition? Was it a call that you had? What was it that brought you to serve in the military to begin with, Carlos?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's also pretty interesting. My parents immigrated here from Mexico, so I don't have a lineage of military service. And then, to be honest, once 9/11 hit, I just felt this urge. I didn't join right away, but I did feel this urge to do something to defend what we all come here for. You know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember my mom cried, and she didn't want me to do it.
Right.
And then but growing up, she would tell me the story of her coming to America, to Texas, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then so I was already grown with this. I decided to join the military, and I talked to her, and I was like, "How can you tell me that you fought so hard to get here, but you're telling me that it's not okay to fight, to keep it that way?"
Right.
You know what I mean?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. To keep what you came here for.
Exactly. I mean, there's a reason that.
And how old were you when you made that decision?
I was 25. I was married, and I had just had my second child, my daughter.
Wow.
And what were you doing at the time that you decided to enter the military?
Yeah, I was actually in a machine shop.
Okay.
But to be honest, I grew up in a rough neighborhood. I didn't graduate high school, and jobs were very limited.
Sure.
I worked my way up in the machine shop. I worked there for 6 years and worked my way up as much as you could without a formal education.
Sure.
And I didn't have the certification to run the CNC lathes that we were running. I was running them, but then...
Right, you knew how to do it anyway.
Right. But then because I wasn't certified, they found that as a way to keep my pay where it was.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I've run into those situations.
Yeah, so it was a decent job, and I couldn't honestly see myself doing it for the rest of my life. And my wife was in insurance. She was in insurance, medical billing and coding.
Oh, wow.
So she's still pretty smart. And she said, I told her I was thinking about, leaving and getting a different job. And the only thing she asked of me was if I was going to leave there, to go somewhere that had equal or better insurance. Because we were married and we did have 2 kids.
Well, so you did go somewhere with full coverage.
Yes. Yeah. So that made it extremely difficult,
She didn't see it coming, I bet, right?
No, she didn't.
No.
And how was that reaction? I mean, was it well received by? I mean, you said that your mother, of course, had some reservations. Was it a decision that was well received by your wife and children and family?
My wife was shocked, but she did fully support me.
Okay.
Which was kind of surprising to me.
Sure.
Because I had never talked about the military, good or bad. It was never in my train of thought. So me mentioning it to her kind of had made her think twice, look twice. And other than that, most of my friends understood why I was doing it. And so my mother was the only one who. I'm not gonna say she didn't want me to join, but she was she
had her reservations.
Yeah, she knew it was a time of war, and she knew what would more than likely be happening.
She probably, as a mother, just like that number one instinct, didn't want to lose you.
That's what I imagine it was, because like I said, it's not. If it was time of peace, she probably would have thought second time. Yeah,
like 1988. Like, hey man,
go for it.
Yeah. Go for it. But I guess that was just before the first Iraq war. That was 89, so maybe not.
96, maybe.
But how long did you serve in the military, and exactly what did you do in the 12 Bravo Combat Engineers?
So 12 Bravo Combat Engineers, we mainly deal with explosives. We do obstacles as far as concertina wire and barbed wire, and so we build those to protect against enemies, or if enemies build those, then we blow those up. But in this particular type of war and the type of warfare that the insurgents had, where they didn't have a uniform and they weren't coming, them against us.
Yeah.
What our role got reduced to was doing route clearance, which meant that we would leave any fob or any area that we were in about 20 to 30 minutes before someone else was going to go talk to a key leader engagement, is what it's called, where they were going to talk to somebody from the village, be it a religious person or just a political leader.
Sure.
So we'd go ahead of them and clear the route of any IEDs or bombs that may have been out there. And then once we get to where we're going, we radio back to them and tell them it's clear, and they go forth and go on their mission, and then we do the same thing on the way back.
Yeah, wash, rinse, repeat on a daily basis. And even though you're used to your route, it could change on a daily basis, hour to hour, like depending on what happened.
Yes, it could. It changes, and it's crazy to think about. But they kind of start seeing these patterns, right? Every mission, every MOS, every job has different vehicles. So our particular vehicles was the Huskies and the Buffaloes, and they knew, okay, these are the guys that are looking for bombs. Yeah. So they wait till almost till we pass and then go and try to start planning their stuff, because they know somebody's coming behind us. We're clearing it for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's kind of stuff like that. You got to kind of outthink them, and then they'll think of something else, and then you have to just never any cycle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is what led to
stressful.
which is what led to your situation of injury ultimately. Right. And that in and of itself is a harrowing story. You don't have to necessarily repeat it if you don't feel like it. But how long? How many tours did you serve before your time of injury came? Because, like you were saying before, it was odd that you had gone that long. Almost.
Yeah. No, we were. So I did 2 deployments to Iraq in 2009, 2011, and my 3rd deployment, this last one, was in Afghanistan in 2013, and to be out, I think we were there for 2 or 3 months when this happened. Out of a 12-month tour.
Okay.
So this is very young in the process, but we kind of doing that. We knew what to look for. We knew the marks. We knew what to be aware of, when to be on high alert.
Sure.
And when you could kind of a little bit put your guard down. But then now it's constantly LJT. Now you're training these new privates, these new recruits.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what we're looking for, and this is why we're looking for this. And just kind of keep your head on a swivel type thing.
That's those newbies I was talking about.
Yeah.
yeah.
The on-the-job training, the OJT. And, it's got to be hard because, of course you learn some stuff in basic, but until you get out in the field, especially with something like that, especially in that field, like there is so much that is learned only out in the field. That.
Yeah, we do training, sometimes weeks at a time out, when you're at Fort Hood or wherever you're at. But it's not till it's real, till it's happening to you. I think these young men, and myself when I was new, it's not real until you're out there and you realize, oh, we're leaving the security of this fob, and it's like anything goes out here. And even then it's not 100% real until the first thing happens, until the contact happens. When if you're in the last vehicle, when that first vehicle calls all stop, which is a code word for we think we saw something, so we all stop, everybody stops, and all of a sudden when you're a new guy, you're like, oh man, they see something, you know.
Yeah.
What's the code word if something blew up? What's that called?
I think you just see the explosion, right?
Oh, yeah, never mind. There's no code word needed.
You see it, and then people automatically start, they have a certain sector they got to watch, and they just start watching for trigger man, anybody running, anybody trying to hide. It's kind of, all working at the same time.
And how often does something like that happen? How often do you have an all-stop amongst regular missions? Things like that.
It depends on the area you're at. To be completely honest, there's not a definite answer for that.
Sure.
My first tour, we were in Kirkuk in Iraq, and we were having these. We'd go on mission every day. We were having 5 or 6 of these a week.
Oh wow.
My second tour was at Bakuba, and I think our sister platoon found one the whole time we were there.
Oh, wow.
That's nice.
So we kind of start to get bored, and now you're doing presence patrols instead of route clearance, and now you're getting off your vehicle and patrolling the streets just to let them know that
Show
we're
of
still
force.
here. Exactly.
Show of force.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in Afghanistan, it's completely different. You're always going to see something. It depends where you are at. You may see something 2 or 3 times a week. And RC South was considered the most dangerous, where I ended up getting hurt. I mean, it's not common to see multiple on the same mission.
Wow. Wow. And, just thinking about that in general, especially at the age of 25, and like you said, quite a few of the people that you were working with being younger than you.
Right.
You said something very poignant, I think, before the episode started when we were just sitting around, and that's that the face of the veteran has changed.
Yes,
I
believe
know,
so.
and I'd like you to explain that to our audience. Veterans Day having just passed, you see a lot of parades, you see a lot of that, and there is this concept of veteran in the mindset of America, I think. And I don't think that they, like you were saying, really consider the younger veteran, really consider, kids that are like 22 that are fully disabled vets.
Yeah.
So get into some of that for us.
Yeah, well, this actually came into my mind. I took a rehab trip to Colorado, and this guy was coming to pick up some veterans, and then my wife and I were there. And we kind of got into this. It's kind of intriguing, right? So even myself, like I said earlier, when we think of veterans, we normally think of the Caucasian male with gray hair that got the Vietnam veteran hat.
The grizzled old vet.
Right. And that's what you think of. They may be wearing their motorcycle vest, even if they don't ride a motorcycle. And nowadays here, within the last 10 years, I mean, like I said, I do know veterans who are 21, 22 years old, 100% disabled, medically.
Yeah.
And I don't think people look at them with the same respect's not the word, but they don't look at them with the same, I guess, pride that you would look at an older.
The sense of awe.
Right, exactly.
The sense of awe necessarily, and the sense of respect.
Yeah,
sadly enough.
Yeah, nowadays a veteran can be any race, male or female.
Yeah.
And they could have been doing anything in the military, and it's just. And it's not a bad thing to think of veteran as these, Vietnam veterans, but it's just another thing I think we should be aware that the face of the veteran, it has slowly changed, and now it can be anybody.
That's right. And, I think it's really the fact of we did have a lot of young people whenever 9/11 happened, stuff like that came to serve and went to serve. And the sad fact is, amongst things, veterans are so entirely forgotten amongst our country. They are the majority of homeless in our country. They are the majority of PTSD sufferers who end up on medications, things like that. And I really don't think that we as a society really give enough credence to that and really give enough recognition to, like I said in the post tonight, the sacrifices that are made of life and livelihood, even people that come back with severe PTSD from their struggles of war, and how we treat them. Unfortunately, you have been very blessed, like you were saying before the episode, to have gone through a great care system.
Right.
But unfortunately, so many haven't. And I mean, Texas fortunately has a very good VA system in comparison to some places. I've heard some bad stories from vets in Texas as well, but in comparison to places like Arizona and stuff like that, where the system just went horribly awry. That's why when I ran into you guys at the conference that I was working in Pittsburgh, I was like, oh my God, here is an actual charity that takes care of our veterans and takes care of our veterans.
Exactly.
It's 90 cents on the dollar
Right.
taking care of our veterans. And we were talking about that before the episode, how so many people reach out to you for your story and stuff like that, but it's hard to find the genuine ones.
It is.
It's hard to find the genuine charities, not only to share your story with, but to go to for help.
Right.
As a veteran, and explain some of that to the people listening, just so they understand it.
Yeah. So something that I've learned through my experience being disabled and through my rehab here at SAMC in San Antonio, there's tons of organizations that'll come at you and they'll give you a T-shirt and they'll give you a toothbrush, because you get medevac
We
here.
gave you a pint glass and some stickers.
So they're looking for poster child type.
They are. They're looking.
Yeah.
Hey, let's take a picture with you. You're missing a leg.
Yeah.
Hey, come to our fundraiser, tell your story. And then so these people who are invited, these
Feels great for a
these wealthy
moment.
people, exactly.
Yeah.
And they start opening checkbooks and they're making donations and they're trying to do the right thing. But
Sure.
then, as we discussed, very little bit of that money actually trickles down to the service they're providing.
Right.
Yeah.
How much of that money is actually being received and put towards the actual cause?
Towards
right?
why the reason it was donated.
Towards
Exactly.
services
Yeah.
for our veterans.
Yeah, exactly. And then I know there's a handful of organizations that I would love to work for. And there's a handful of organizations that have reached out to my wife and I, and we've
Sure.
turned away repeatedly, but then, people want to ask, well, which one should I donate my money to? And it's always, it's your money. You do your research. Who do you think deserves your money? I'm not
Sure.
going to sit here and tell somebody who to donate to. It's your hard-earned money, But definitely, my wife and I have always been very research-based. So even when we saw a lot of them started coming into our hospital room and talking and the stuff they were offering and who they were looking to help, so we just go and look them up. And something that we found about Homes for Our Troops was that they are very transparent, as you said.
Yeah.
Everything's out there. This is what we do. This is who we do it for. And by the way, this is people that we've done it for. Go look at their story.
Well, and that's just it. Even amongst the links in the post for tonight was where it says 90% of every dollar donated. If you click that, it goes to
It
their
shows you,
it
yeah.
goes straight to the financials page. It shows you the earnings, what's coming in, what's going out, and what is being spent on homes. And the fact that they provide free homes for our veterans,
Right.
it is so entirely hard on families.
Yes.
The service for our country, the time that's missing, the sacrifices that mothers and fathers at home have to make while service is going on with the husbands and wives overseas, stuff like that to begin with, much less coming home injured, and what it takes to be able to get back on your feet as a family, to be able to make yourselves whole again. And how long did it take once you started the process with Homes for Our Troops? I mean, what was it? Give us a little bit of your experience, number one, with the process with them, and what it was like once you found them.
Yeah, so once my wife heard about it through another spouse that were looking into the organization, we applied, and it had to have been in the fall of 2014 when we actually went ahead and took the step and applied to the program. They kept us in contact. They said that we qualified, and they have a waiting list because they're completely run on donations and funds from the public. So we were pretty excited, and then in August of 2015, they actually flew us out to Boston to their conference, and they usually fly 6 to 8 veterans. And this is where they kind of do their final interview process. They get to know you. They get to know your spouse. They see what your stories are, what your injuries are, if you've exaggerated on your paperwork,
What your needs are.
right?
Wow.
Exactly. And they see if they can help you. There are men and women who would qualify for this program, but they build the same house for everybody. And if you have 6 children, this house is not enough for you. You know, so they'll tell them, okay, we can't help you, but this is who can.
Yeah.
So in 2015, the flew was out in August to Boston, and they had the interview, and they told us that they would love to build us a house, you know, and they always say it that way, like if you let us, you know, and I'm like, yes, you're building me a house.
What do you mean?
I
So almost immediately.
There's like that 0.0009 or something
no,
percent.
I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
And there does absolutely have to be that moment of disbelief in
It
your
is.
mind,
Yes.
you know.
And then-
Yeah, like what?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
actually record the process. They took
That's
my
great.
wife and I
Aw.
into a small room about this
beautiful.
size, where the 3 or 4 executives of the organization, where they're the president and the board, and we were kind of like, oh, that's a little intimidating. And they start telling us and this and that, and they're like, if you would allow us to, we would love to build you guys a house. And I'll never forget. That's what they said to us. And we were just like, I remember I started crying. And then you're almost like, are they messing with us?
Yeah,
Are
like,
they
is this even
Yeah,
real?
Exactly.
Right now.
You think somebody's going to stop you?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially coming back, going through the rehab that you've gone through to make yourself whole, make your family whole, everything else. You're even in school. You're getting ready to graduate this upcoming year with a
That's
degree
awesome.
in education. What was it that made you? Because I was a teacher. Julie's been a teacher. I always love hearing that
I
story
teach
as
crazy
well. What
things.
was it? Steve teaches something. But what was it that made you want to pursue a career in education? What was it that, and if I'm not mistaken, junior high
Yes.
education,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
which is my favorite.
Sweet.
My favorite, man. 7th grade,
Very
like
tricky.
that's the hoop year, man. That's
Yeah.
like I told you
Yeah.
at the booth. That's when light bulbs start
Yeah,
going
it's-
on.
it's
You were
true.
already
You get
3
to-
feet too tall.
You get to see light bulbs like all the time. It's so
Yes.
awesome in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So, what was it that made you decide to take that leap and go in that direction with your life?
All right, that's a great
From-
question.
From
Yeah.
from a mechanical engineering standpoint, you know, starting off in a CNC shop doing work like that, moving on into EOD and explosives ordnance disposal, on
You're
into
right.
on into a war zone in and of itself,
Yes.
Yeah.
known as the public education
Exactly.
classroom.
They're gonna love you, though.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
are.
I
So-
was actually in the hospital bed at SAMC, and then I remember where the NCO came in and told me that they started looking at my retirement paperwork,
Mhm.
and I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I'm gonna go back to my unit." In my head, you know, it was never even a thought.
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, your military career is pretty much over."
You patched me up, now I'm
Yeah,
back, right?
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember at that moment I was just so mad. I kicked her out of my room. She outranked me, but I'm the patient, you know.
Yeah, it's in my room,
and
son.
I was just so mad. And then
You need to get out.
once we got to cool down, my wife and I were talking. Like, well, what am I going to do? You know, and I would always tell my new soldiers, my new recruits, you know, if you want to get out, that's fine. But you know, have a plan. Go to school. Do something. Use your benefits. You've earned it.
Yeah, that's right. That's
You know,
right.
and
Yeah.
everybody who joined after I was in charge of, they deployed at least once. You know, because they did join 7 War. Definitely go use them. So I didn't want to be that guy who didn't have a plan. That was
Yeah.
just me. You know, because I hadn't thought about it. I wanted to make a career out of the military. And then I was thinking, what could I go to school
Now,
for?
was this a lifelong kind of passion maybe you had?
For the military?
Yeah, well, I
No.
mean, no, for teaching.
Now,
No, it's actually, I was just laying there and we were thinking about what kind of career I guess
Yeah.
I did want a career as opposed to a job,
yeah.
you know, and I was like, what am I going to go to school for? And I don't know, just one day, like out of nowhere, these 2 teachers that had a huge positive impact on my life
Mm-hmm.
just came to mind. And I can remember how they would work with me, how they work with other kids, other
Mhm.
students. And every time I got new soldiers in my unit, I would love to teach them what I know. And you have to
There you
start
go.
from the beginning.
You figured it
Yeah.
out.
And I'd have them do research when they were new. I was like, hey, you go and find out why this is our patch and the importance of it. And stuff like that. There wasn't like procedures, but it was still kind of that prideful theme. You want to be proud
Yeah.
of this unit, and we're going to deploy and we're going to add to the history of this unit. So I just a little bit of all that, and I decided to be just like thinking, you know, I think I want to be a teacher. And my wife, again, supported me the whole time.
And the subject?
Yeah. So this mainly is middle school. As long as I'm in there, I feel like I could teach anything. But if I actually had a choice, I would love history.
I was going to say, I bet history
Yeah,
is going to be the
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I like history is a very important in my opinion, and it seems to be one of the subjects that's kind of tossed aside, but it still is one of the 5
Or
core
ran through
subjects.
so fast, you know, you missed a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
bunch of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, these younger generation very likely even us to do the same mistakes that our ancestors had,
It's
in revolution. And
you
stuff,
know,
so.
and we speak about that a lot on the show about
Sure
the
do.
fact that the span and the scope of history for us is so entirely
Texas
short.
history is like a week.
Well, I mean, we're actually fortunate even at this table because you're a native Texan, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, of course.
So you took Texas history in
Yes.
junior high. We happen to have with us a Massachusetts person. Julie, and I always found it interesting that, like, the seat of the Republic of the United States, like, they don't have Massachusetts history class.
We for sure did. We
Did
had
you?
the colonies.
Okay.
For like every year you guys had Texas history, we
Okay.
had the colonies.
Okay, because I've heard from a few people that they didn't.
Maybe they went to bad schools.
They may have.
Massachusetts is like #1 in education.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
Okay.
better than Texas, she
Yeah.
says.
Oh no, she is. They are.
Well, yeah,
I don't doubt it.
#1.
No, they're
It
good.
becomes like football all of
Number
a sudden.
They got it.
49.
They got it. But I found it interesting though that, like, even
I don't even like football that much.
even people that, like, live up there, it's one of those, like, oh yeah, I've never been to Salem. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
How could you-
I went to Salem the first time when I was 25.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
one
lives
of
like
the,
maybe 20 minutes away.
Yeah, it's like, how could you not go
Wow.
to? That's like
That's
living in
cool.
Texas and not going to the Alamo.
That's true.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Been
come
there
on,
once.
But
I've been
you
there
do
lots.
you do have to have the scope of history,
10
and
times
even
probably.
even like
Yeah,
you were
me too.
saying, talking about the changing
drunk a
face of
couple times.
veterans,
Right.
thinking about
Yeah.
the scope of history within our veterans, and how we deal with them. When we look at our grandparents, we have the concept of the greatest generation. They were
Right.
the people that fought World War I and World War II. And they even had a different view. I remember my grandfather had a different view of it, and he didn't even like serve. He served in Panama, stuff like that. He didn't see any wartime combat or anything, but even he had a different view of people that
Yeah,
went
that
to
was brutal,
Vietnam
too.
and stuff like that. Oh, absolutely.
Panama was brutal too.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
No.
It wasn't pretty. But
War is
wasn't,
never pretty.
it wasn't like some of my family that went to World War II or things like that. But yeah, it's having that scope of history and having that understanding of history. I think brings us to a huge understanding of how important our veterans are and the decision to serve.
Right.
Like I said, to me, your story of deciding to serve is just as important as your service. Because I think everybody's story individually makes up our whole of the armed
no,
forces.
definitely.
Definitely
because,
makes it up, yeah.
there are some people that serve because their family is served.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that serve because I have a very good friend that went and served 4 years because, hey, that was a great way to get rid of his college debt.
Mhm.
It is.
And now, he's
Damn.
living in Japan with his
Sign
family,
me up.
working off base, like managing
I don't think they would take
venues
you.
and
Nah.
stuff like that.
Somebody that's
They'd
like
take
knocking
him.
on 40.
Nah.
And now something interesting.
Like, get him out of here.
No.
And I'm going to kind
Then
of
get
switch
me outta
gears
here.
for a minute before we get back into the homes for our troops. But what do you think about the decision that was recently made by our military to drop some of the psychological profile? Where they've literally said that, like, people that have had issues are allowed in. People that have been known to have mental issues, stuff like that. I find it kind of
So
disconcerting.
you're saying
myself.
people like even that are prescribed like say psychotic drugs, say lithium.
Well, I mean,
Can still get
lithium is a hardcore psychotic, it's antipsychotic. I don't know about that, but I definitely know that they said that, like, people who've had, like, suicidal tendencies in the past, stuff like that. That
Yeah, they said
you know,
self-harm and depression. was what they were
self-harm,
trying to go through.
depression, stuff like
But
that.
it
Like,
could be like maybe if you were troubled at 19 or 16 and then
could be.
you grow and your hormones change. I mean, I don't know. What's your opinion?
Well, true, because the brain isn't actually formed until you're 21.
Right.
Right.
That's pretty well medically known.
That's
so,
almost an opinion of one's own
But-
beliefs, almost.
I mean, amongst the service that you saw, would you be okay with that as a service member?
I mean, I don't know. It's just I'm sure the military is as unorganized as it seems at times.
Yeah.
They do things with a plan, with a purpose.
They do.
I'm sure whoever they bring in, their job qualifications will probably be limited, I imagine.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure they'll be monitored more regularly than any other person probably. I think as long as there's a clear understanding on both sides, on the military side and on the individual trying to recruit, as to what is actually going to be expected and required, I don't think that would pose an issue. I mean, you've got some great NCOs in the military. And there's some lousy ones as well, but there's a lot of great ones. Greatly outnumber the lousy ones that I feel would have no problem training these people, and then getting them attention when they do need it.
Yeah, I personally feel that our military gets a really bad rap for a lot of things, but I have seen numerous people that entered the military that came out a completely different person than when they went in. What were some of the things that when you entered the military, changed you as a person, changed the way that you thought, the way that you interacted with the world around you? And what were some of the things that you'll always carry with you as lessons from the military?
Yeah, I think the first thing that sticks out and that I tell a lot of people is I think your first 2-3 months in the military are going to dictate where you go from there. I feel that I was blessed to have great leadership. When I first joined, my team leader, squad leader, they were men's men. They were old school. This is the Army. This is what we're gonna do. If anything you do, you better have a reason, whether it's good or bad. There's no I don't know answers. So I think in that sense, it taught me a lot about being a man. I was 25 years old, married, and had 2 children. But again, I grew up in a rough neighborhood. My parents worked 2 jobs. I love them to death, and they love me. It's just the actual FaceTime was limited back then. There's no cell phones to call and check up on how you're doing. Sure. So a lot of the time, my brother and I, we were just out in the streets, hanging out with our friends and kind of depending on each other just to get through. But then in the military, it's different where you're still depending on each other. But now it's about we're going to depend on each other here and we're going to train. But they do put a lot of emphasis on, okay, now you're going to go home and you got to take care of your family. Make sure your wife, make sure your children are good. Make sure your financial plans are in order. And this is something that a lot of NCOs kind of don't think about. They teach you tactics while you're at work, and then you go home and then don't call me till Monday, Yeah. But like I said, I was blessed enough to have these 2 individuals, Sergeant Livingston and Staff Sergeant Bradley, who taught me a lot. I think at first of being a man, and then on being a soldier. It's just a great way to, I guess, to give me a new insight on not just the Army, but in life. Yeah. And I still talk to them to this day, almost every day.
Really?
Text. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, kind of a big text message.
Because you'd mentioned that until the point of injury, you were considering a career in the military. Yes. And now, were you considering a career as a working man in the military, or were you considering a career as an officer in the military?
No, no, it's funny, but a little bit.
Because there's always that, don't call me sir, I work for a living,
For a short time,
especially as sergeant.
Yeah, for a short time, I did think about doing a green to gold program where you go to school. But then I guess after my second deployment, that changed. I liked, because during my second deployment was when I got promoted to sergeant. And I just liked what that brought. I liked that now you're always relying on each other. But now it's more specifically where these young men are they're relying on you. Mm-hmm. And it's some of it's to the point where you got to make sure they do the proper things before we go on missions. We do our PCCs, PCIs, our pre-combat checks and pre-combat inspections. And sometimes it's these young men who grew up like I did, and you have to remind them that you need to go shower. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like that, but it brings out kind of a father figure in you. But it's just, again, being able to provide that leadership to them that I was provided with when I first joined. Because you see it, I was always, I joined later, so I was always squared away. I knew what had to be done. And I knew what I needed to do to go home at the end of the day. Yeah. And there was just these younger guys, right? They're just like, lackadaisical, and they just don't get to it when they get to it, And a good NCO is going to know you're going to do it right now, but this is why we need to get done. Yeah. So trying to become that, I think, was it's really motivating.
Well, yeah, and I mean, trying to, I guess, show the purpose and the reason
Right.
behind doing things, because there's a purpose and a reason. And
Yeah.
I remember there was a great speech given all of a couple years ago to some of the graduates of West Point, talking about the importance of making your bed.
Right,
in
yeah,
the
I think I
morning.
saw that, yeah.
The importance of
Started off
making
with
your
that.
bed in the morning. And it seems like such a trivial thing, and we jump your ass about it all day, every day, about why in your bed, like, why do we do bed checks every single day? And it's because, like, and, you notice it. I didn't used to make my bed, but I do now. Like, I remember whenever my mom came to Maine and she was like, yo, like, what's up with your space? It's like,
What's up with
clean.
your space?
Really not make my bed.
Like,
get
like
chewed
your
out now
bed's
because
made,
it's clean.
like your kitchen's done.
You get
and I'm
called
like,
out because
because
tidy.
like that's your first point of pride in the day,
Yeah,
and you do it because that's what you should do. Like it's your first task. Like, start your day.
You know what's
Make
weird?
your bed.
I do it everywhere else but my own. I
Yeah.
seriously do.
I don't make
I
my
have
bed.
respect for everybody else, but it's like, yeah, it's my place, whatever.
I will.
Get right back.
I will admit, when I'm on the road, it's.
Well, you got room service.
Well, no, that's
not
the
room
thing.
service, you
Is
have
I kind of go like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and I just keep the do not disturb sign up, and like by
Go
the
crazy.
end of the week, it's like piles of beer from people drinking in my room.
Chris, are you in there?
Because it's things I can't do at home.
paranoia.
Like, I can't live that way at
That's
home
true.
with the kid,
Yeah.
my wife.
No.
Like my wife came and met me
She's so
before the
neat.
baby was born. She came and met me on the road in Vegas, and she came into my room. She's like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Yep, welcome to my room.
Now I'm living now.
This is how I live when I'm on the road."
Beer bottle there. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, no, literally. It had been like 4 days out of 7 by the time she joined me, and my room is typically the congregation room. So, yeah, there was quite the collection of empty various bottles of many things all in the room.
I like those temporary home away from home type of situations.
Yeah. So,
Kind of like, oh, yeah. Like
but
a party or
but it's
whatever.
definitely, I've gotten much later in life into the fact of, no, these are the things that, like, I have to do. These things have to exist this way. And when I was a kid, I didn't make my bed. I didn't do that. And I don't know why I didn't. I guess I saw the fact that I'm just going to
get
mess it
back
up
in it
again.
I'm
I'm just going to
still
get back in it
there.
and mess it up
I'm a
again.
minute away from 40.
But at the
and
same
I'm still
time,
there.
at that point in life, I also had the attitude of practice makes perfect, and nobody's perfect. Why practice?
Oh, that's where Liam is.
I know.
I've got a 16-year-old.
And it's,
I gotta tell my
it's-
boss at work that one.
But it's the fact of you could get closer to perfection. You could get
I
incrementally
make a mean
closer.
bed. I know hospital corners.
Incrementally closer. So, what was it that you think amongst the military was the life lesson that you learned amongst everything?
Oh,
what
yeah,
was it
that
that
was the
you think
question.
that you
Life
will
lesson.
carry with you, and that you'll always have
That could possibly be more than
from the
one.
military?
No,
Because
I think-
I always
yeah.
love hearing what people's answer is to that question.
Man, I think what I would have to take away from that myself would be family first. As cheesy as it sounds, you get to build a brotherhood and a family with these
Yeah.
individuals. And I've been out of the military now for 3 official years.
Sure.
And like I said, I still talk to these young men every day. And my wife and my children are at the forefront of everything that I do. Like, every decision that we make is for each other. But at the same time with the guys, every time we met at Fort Hood, and now we're kind of spread all over the country.
Yeah.
I think only like 2 guys
Sure.
are in from our group. Only 2 guys are still in. Everybody else is moved. But we still talk. We still ask each other questions and help each other out, whether it be something from the military, VA, or just life.
Yeah.
Somebody's having a baby. And they're
Has
asking
anybody
about this.
since you come back said, hey, like they've noticed that and they've like, hey, you came back a better man? Has anybody said something like that or along that term or?
Nobody's actually said those words to me. You do see it in their facial
Yeah,
expressions.
right.
You do see it, and
Right.
it's something that every leader would tell their soldiers, it's like, if you want to do something with your life,
Right.
follow this path. And they always tell you, when you go home on leave, look at your friends. 2-3 years on the road, they're doing the same thing,
Yep.
and they still
Yeah.
live with their parents,
Yep.
and they're still working at the same dead end job.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're 2-3 years later, and you've already moved up in rank. You make sure a little bit more money. You get into travel sometimes.
More
You get to
life
do all these things.
experience, more job experience.
Exactly right. You're meeting people from all
Yeah.
over the world. You're meeting new traditions, new celebrations, and there's people who join in Florida and move to Colorado,
Yeah.
wherever, because that's where their buddies are. Their buddies who are actually doing something and going somewhere.
Or that's where the next
Exactly.
rank and
Yeah.
position is.
Right, if
you
they
know,
stay in, yeah.
And
yeah.
going back into Homes for Troops and coming home for you, what was it like for you to come home? Like you said, you were on tour for 12 months, and then you would come home and then basically go back. How long was your initial enlistment, and how many times did you re-enlist amongst that time?
So my initial contract was 3 years and 16 weeks.
Okay.
And from what I gather, everybody that joined with me to be 12 Bravos, we all had the same contract. And then I re-enlisted for 6 more years, changed the duty station to Alaska. So actually, when I came back from Afghanistan, I already had orders
To go to
Alaska,
Okay.
which was amazing.
Dude, that would've
It was
been
my
dope.
first choice. Yeah.
Nice.
But most people that I've met, or most of my friends, we all re-enlisted multiple times. I only had the opportunity to do it once, but I would have done it, like I said, eventually,
Yeah.
longer and longer. But very few guys do get out, and it's a lot of that military history. We had this guy this kid was so smart, and everybody asked him all the time, like, dude, why are you a combat engineer? This is like, if you bomb the test, you become infantry or combat engineer. And it's and
Like,
to him,
the most stressful job.
to him, it was tradition. His grandfather was a combat engineer.
Yeah.
His dad was a combat engineer. He was going to be
Yeah.
a combat engineer.
But yeah, he was
It's-
so
and you
smart,
find
right?
that-
He was like,
You find that a lot in things like
ridiculous
combat
smart.
engineer, artillery,
yes, infantry. Also,
infantry
yes.
as well.
Yeah.
It's
So wait, why couldn't he get a better?
He didn't want to.
He
Oh,
he
did he
could have.
want-
He
could
could
have.
have. He chose this.
could
Yeah.
have.
he
Yeah.
chose
So I'm saying, yeah.
Oh shit!
yeah, yeah,
We go a lot of our you get tested, you get different categories.
yeah.
And most of the time is, what's your GT score? What's your GT
Mhm.
score? Anything over 110, you're pretty much good to do any kind of training.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a 113, so I squeaked by and qualified for everything. This kid had like a 147.
What?
And like, yeah,
What?
it was like, I didn't even know it went that high.
Yeah.
The first time I
I didn't even know it
I
went
was
there.
like, I thought it maxed out at 125 or something.
Hey, is this a typo, dude?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I say smart, I mean, this kid
It's what
was
the
just
fuck,
on it.
dude? What the fuck?
Yeah.
What is
It
this
was
shit?
tradition. That's what they were going to do. And he was going to do his one contract as a combat engineer and get out.
And yeah,
And he did. And he was just, I remember you were saying that earlier about
Yeah.
family traditions. He was just, that's what he wanted to do.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
Crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever seen the military like take people's like scores that are like too high and then like say no, you're gonna do this, like they want you for something?
No,
Like-
I personally
I didn't-
never saw
No,
that. I'm sure the
never saw that.
recruiters at MEPS,
Yeah.
where you go, they're probably trying to talk you into something else. But
Yeah,
you're a civilian until you sign that paper. Once you sign that paper, you're signing for a job.
decided for
So
that job.
they can't tell you what to do before you sign that. You know.
Yeah.
Dang. Holy shit.
Well, now getting back to Homes for Our Troops, how many troops have they helped since they started? How many homes have they built? And how often do they do this? Because I know even
And
when
what's
I
the
was
criteria?
there, even when I was there talking with y'all were saying y'all were actively trying to help the guy here in the Austin area. So,
Right.
like Julie said, what are the criteria that people have to meet to get into this awesome, fantastic program?
Okay, so as I understand it right now, the criteria is two things. And you have to be post 9/11, and you have to qualify for the SAH grant through the VA, which I forget what that stands for, but it's like supplement allowance for housing. So if they considered you critically injured, you apply for this, they'll come out to your home. They'll send a representative to your home, and then they'll see what struggles you have in this home. And then
Sure.
if he says, okay, you need some adapting going on, they sign off on this, and it's like a, man, I don't want to overstep, but I think it's
Sure.
$67,000, and you can use this to buy a new home. You can use this to modify your existing home. Anyway, anything that that makes it accessible or adaptable
Sure.
qualifies for this thing. And you can use it up to 3 times the same amount.
Anything to make it ADA compliant.
Exactly.
Now, if you don't even
American
have a home,
with
they're going to
disabilities,
build it though, right? Or no?
For the VA,
Yeah.
yeah. If
Well-
where this grant goes, if you want to purchase a new home and say you want to build something, you want
Right.
to make it ADA,
Like
you
ground
can
up.
put that home. Right. You can put
Yeah,
that
you
money
can put
toward
that 60,000 toward
okay.
the purchase of a home,
Yeah.
toward the building of a home, anything
So
like
you have
that.
to be post
with the
9/11 and
typical grant.
qualify for that grant. And so Homes for Our Troops, they don't require. One of the things they ask is, if we build you this house, this $450,000 house, would you sign over the 60 grand for it over to them? Kind of as a
nice
small,
trade-off,
yeah. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
Now, what is
Yeah.
that exactly? The grant you said? What is that?
It's the adaptable.
Yeah.
It's from the VA.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So, like,
Yeah, yeah,
basically, everybody who has a certain level of disability would qualify for that grant. The Homes for Our Troops, if I'm understanding correctly,
Oh, I
it's
see.
$450,000, but in exchange, you give them your $60,000 that you got from the VA.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's not a requirement, something they ask, but I don't think I've met anybody who's had a
No,
problem
why would you
with
say
it.
no?
Yeah,
My
yeah,
yeah.
goodness.
And then 450 is like national average. So places like California is a lot more than that.
Yeah, Hawaii.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've actually built, I believe, in 40 different states as of now.
The map is
Uh,
immense, folks.
They've built.
There's Alaska.
Go on to homesforourtroops.org. You can also find it
Alaska.
hfotusa.org. You can go to, you can see the maps where they have built homes, stuff like that. And yeah, I want to say there's over 240 homes.
There's
something like that.
248 homes currently
Yeah.
built.
Hold on.
There's a few
Carlos
more.
was telling me
Yeah.
about Alaska. What's up with
So
Alaska?
at this conference,
Yeah.
where I met Chris, they were saying there's a couple actually they just went to conference and they're interested in building in Alaska. So they're going to start looking for land and see. I think the husband and wife are still talking about it.
Yeah.
They both kind of initially said okay, but they're kind of talking about it to make sure. So this is going to be their first if they do. And then I know I talked to Brianna and Caitlin were kind of pretty
Nice.
excited about that.
Nice.
That's
I bet
pretty
the
cool.
land is cheap in Alaska.
That's what I said. Probably get you a whole thing, a whole
Yeah,
frozen lake and an iceberg.
Well,
Sitting on it.
yeah, no, if I'm
Mountain
not
view and your own
mistaken,
elk.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, you actually get like paid to live in Alaska.
You got a wheel and
If
deal
you
with
become a
patience.
resident,
Yeah, it's like
I think-
$3,500 a year or something like
Per
that.
person.
That you get. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
per family member.
yeah. So it's a fantastic program,
Yes.
the Homes for Our Troops, and what did your home end up like? Do you have any pictures? Do you? I mean,
I
know.
have some pictures of as it was being constructed.
Okay.
As they went from the lot to cleaning it and this thing
Sure.
like that. So they try to build about. Slide it that way.
Sure.
They try to build 30 houses a year.
Oh wow, that is a beautiful piece of property.
Yeah, so they
too.
bought me just under 4
Sure
acres
is.
off in
Wow.
New Braunfels, closer to
Wow.
Canyon Lake.
Oh
on 306.
man,
Okay.
this is really
Oh,
nice.
pretty. I love that area.
Oh,
It's
my
beautiful.
God.
It's beautiful. And then I think they require, 3/4 of an acre is what
Yeah.
the footprint of the house requires.
Wow.
It's about what it
But
looks
Dude,
like.
this is
they'll get
beautiful.
you. They'll get you whatever you,
Yeah.
whatever's reasonable within where you're looking.
Sure.
So
4
again,
acres, that's awesome.
again in
Dude, that's
Texas,
a
it's going to be a lot
nice-looking
more.
house.
than
My
in
God, this is
California.
beautiful.
Right, unless you're like
Mhm.
downtown Austin.
Exactly.
Then they're
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
here's this shoebox.
Wow.
Here's this
Enjoy
very
it.
tiny sliver that you can build on. Please make sure to replace
Look
the
at that
equivalent
nice
amount of
tree.
acreage
That's got
of
a
trees.
beautiful landscape.
Which is
Somewhere
good. We
in
should
there.
replace
Dude,
our
that
trees.
is
should.
beautiful.
So they have the
My
same
God.
that same floor plan. I think it changes a little
Shit.
bit where you
Yeah.
get 3 bedrooms and a den, or 4. You can close that in and make it a 4th bedroom.
So you're
I
saying
know,
you can
it's
choose your
gorgeous.
own like kind of layout of how you want it?
No, what's
Oh,
saying that
that's
the only thing that really
something
changes
different.
is
That would be with the builder.
What a
price.
big old house.
no. I mean
It's
they build the
huge.
one house because they have
Oh.
the specs for it.
Oh, I see.
And so like the 2 you can choose is on
Well-
the first one the living room's in the front and the dining room's in the back.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then the second one is just flipped.
Well, and
So
it's
looks
the
very
fact of with
spacious,
the
which is awesome.
It's very open.
yeah, and with the floor plan that they have, things like that, it makes it very easy for modular construction, quick construction,
Right, if you want
things
to do
like that.
something
Because
like
you've
that,
only got
yeah.
a couple of floor plans to choose from. It doesn't make
Shit,
it
Right.
that beats my
insane
Yeah.
for construction costs. You
Right.
can have a lot of stuff
Wow.
prefab.
And then
Things like that.
Well, they know what they're looking for. They don't prefab anything really. So you choose where you want to live, and then they go out and hire local contractors.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the same floor plan.
Wow.
That'll work.
The same floor plan allows them at HFOT to talk to different contractors and kind of know what they're expecting already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's where a lot of the
Dude, those pictures
funds
are
come in.
awesome. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
home.
Do you have his email or something? Can you send that one with the banner so we can
Yeah, feel free
tag
to.
it to the episode later?
Yeah, that'd be great. That's a
so
beautiful home.
I mean, if you don't
thank
want
you.
people to see your home,
No,
you can
no, I
close
don't
up
know.
on
I
the
don't
banner,
mind.
but it doesn't have like an address
I
on
do
it or
not mind.
anything. So you go left at the stop sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see that sign that she was talking about that had my name on it?
Mm-hmm.
Usually the builder breaks those down,
Yeah.
but my wife and I had this idea, and we kept it, and we took the mat off, and we turned it backwards, so it's white, and we use that as a projector screen. We have,
That's
we
awesome.
have it on,
Oh,
we have it on in the
Great
backyard.
idea.
My kind of guy.
And they were,
Multitasking.
and actually,
Something.
Caitlin was asking me in Pittsburgh. She's like, "Are you the family that use that projector screen?" We're like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, that's so cool."
It's great. It is a perfect 16 by 9 size.
but yeah, so a lot of this stuff. So they're funded 70% by the public, 30% by corporate sponsors.
Okay.
So they have, say, like Armstrong Flooring donates all the floors.
Okay.
So then my wife and I actually got to choose any floor that Armstrong Flooring had.
Sure.
And and then the same thing with the cabinet
Oh, that's
company.
fun.
And so all the stuff that's donated, we get to choose our shade or our, we get to
Yeah, your style,
Like,
we get to
everything
make
else.
it right.
That's
So
awesome.
even although it's the same floor plan, you can go into houses and they can look slightly different just because the floors are darker or
Yeah.
lighter in the cabinets. And it's just so open, you see everything.
And
Yeah.
you know, what was this is kind of a personal question, but what was the impact for you and your family going through this process, going through, like you said, just the revelation that this was real, that this was a real thing, that somebody was able to facilitate the building of a home for you? What was that like?
I mean, to be honest, it was just mind blowing. You know, we heard about it and we're like, it's too good to be true. We looked it up, we qualified, and then once they started building it, they have a little get together, community kickoff, and it's just like you see all the people there, and they invite the whole neighborhood, and everybody who can make it out makes it out, and it's just like it's overwhelming. It's almost surreal. They're building a house, and we were living in Universal City at the time.
Okay.
But every Saturday we'd make it out to go see what they've done. And we'd go on Saturdays because we don't want to mess with the crew and slow them down. They were more than happy to have us there and walk us through and tell us what they're doing. But we didn't want to slow down their work or anything. And we just so when the house was finally built and they have a welcome home ceremony and they drive us up there, and it's just it's even more surreal. You know, like the first month driving home, like I knew where I was going, but it still didn't feel like I was driving home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so new, and then the neighborhood is beautiful, as y'all saw.
Yeah.
It's oh my God,
And,
dude! Your piece of property is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
It's at the end of a
Gorgeous.
cul-de-sac,
Gorgeous.
so the kids can play, and it's
Wow.
just amazing. And so even now, sometimes when people ask, we'll come over. We're very involved with our church. Because like I said, I got medevac here and we're staying here for the hospital, and that's pretty much it. So we didn't really have no family, just very few friends. The friends that we have are from the church, so they'll come over and they'll be like, "Man, this is a beautiful house," and they start to seeing all the things that are there for to make it adaptable for myself when I'm in my wheelchair. And they'll be like, "Oh, that's so cool!" It's like, "Oh, I need that in my house," and stuff like this. It's just a beautiful home. It never gets old. It hasn't gotten old yet. And, I moved in June. In the summer, so it's just a beautiful home. We love living there.
Well, and how can people go about checking out the program? How can veterans go about applying for the program? Where can they go to find this information, Carlos?
Yeah, so all this information can be found online, hfotusa.org. It all can be on there. They have you can make a donation there also. You can make a one-time donation. They do have this oh my goodness, they're gonna kill me, I forget what it's called, but they have this plan where you can sign up and you donate $10 a month. $10 a month. Lasting, I think it's like Operation Lasting Support or something.
We're looking at the website right now.
Yes, we are actively looking at hfotusa.org, hfot.org. And hfotusa.org. And if you come over here, planned giving is the area under get involved. And you can see how you can become a regular supporter how you can, like he was saying, give gifts on a regular basis, things like that. Sure, you can give a one-time gift, or you can give a recurring gift.
Right.
All kinds of things, and it's a full 501c3 organization. Completely tax deductible.
Yeah.
All
Actually,
that kind of stuff.
Just by happenstance, realized that friends of ours, Lisa and Doug Stewart, are currently fundraising for this, so they're going to throw up a link in a little bit.
Fantastic!
Wow,
Fantastic!
that's beautiful.
That's
man.
great.
You can give as low as $10 a month.
Yeah.
And they say, people like $10 a month, like what's that going to
Yeah.
do? But when 90 cents of every dollar goes to it, I think
That's
last
it.
year, between the $10 a month, everybody who donated nationwide $10 a month, they were actually to build one complete house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
One
awesome.
complete
Exactly.
home.
One complete house.
One complete
Exactly.
and we're talking,
Yeah.
land, build, inspections,
Yeah.
and
That's a lot,
in a certain state.
Well, I mean, if
That's
you think
awesome.
about it,
It is. It's a
here's
lot.
just the metric math, folks. $10 a month, that's $120 a year per person. That's 1,000 people for $120,000. If you get 1,000 people to donate $10 a month, that's $120,000. That's half a home.
right?
That's half a home and property, right there.
Nice.
So
they do say
you look
too-
at that nationally, and the
That's the way
metric
to go.
math is amazing on that.
The
It's
thing that
beautiful.
people, I don't know if you can get that from this website, but they don't just build you the house and then see you later.
No.
They offer a financial planning is one of
Yes.
one of the things that you have to go through, and they do with certified financial assistance.
That's
works pro bono.
just it. If you look
And
under
then
their
there's
building their
everything,
lives area, especially their resources for veterans, the things that they
Mm-hmm.
supply, like you said, it's continuing support for the family. They
Yes.
don't just build you a house and say, "Take care, guys." They take care of you afterward.
Yeah.
They make sure to facilitate your needs.
Well, like you guys were saying at the beginning, this charity is transparent enough. You research it, you can find these people, you can see the work they've done, seen the people, and hear the
Yes.
given in this day and time that we live in, that there are charities out there that are taking money and not giving the proper amounts or whatnot.
That's just
but
it.
yeah, but
even if you go to their YouTube,
Homes
there
for
are
Our Troops are actually giving 90%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's beautiful what they're doing.
And
She's building in Texas.
Some of the stories on here on their YouTube page are absolutely fantastic. The building videos, stuff like that. Amazing progress. The things that you guys are doing for veterans in the United States.
Yeah, when they fly you to Boston, this is where you do the video.
Yeah.
So every person that they've ever built a house for, and everybody that's in progress, has a video that you can look up. You can look up their story, and sometimes they go into where they want to live.
And that's what I'm saying. When I look at stuff, when I research stuff, in no matter where it's at, YouTube or whatnot. But when I see a person tell their story and stuff like that, and if
that's just it. And I mean,
charity or whatnot,
if you look on the screen
can tell
here,
who's
Stephen,
genuine.
right here. I mean, if you go to hfotusa.org, building-homes/veterans, you can see the list of people that they have helped. And it just goes on and on.
The bold is under construction.
Oh, the bold's under construction.
Yeah.
And the regular ones are completed.
This is amazing. Who does this?
It's beautiful.
Like I've never seen this before.
I just scrolled
This is
through.
awesome, though.
As a web coder, I can tell you what would be about 4 pages of information there.
And if you want to make it more real, personal to you, you can actually click on the state. And
exactly.
Dude,
Like,
that's
you can
awesome.
come here to
I've
Texas.
never seen any charity do that.
Yeah,
They're so transparent.
Not just that,
They're
but I
like,
mean,
here they
here's
are.
their pictures, here's their stories, here's everything
Look at
that has
Look at
gone
this.
through.
There's their stories.
Yeah,
you won't even believe this unless you go to this website.
You click on the red, you can see you see their story, their video.
Yeah,
there's nothing to hide here.
It's so fantastic.
Hey, can we find Carlos on here?
Yes, we can. As a matter of fact, we are in Texas right now. So
these are all in progress.
Carlos.
These are in progress. You scroll down. See,
okay,
so it'll say completed down there somewhere.
Yeah,
I want to see Carlos.
Let's see. Where am I at?
I just want to see. That's all I want to say.
He's on here. I know because I saw him earlier.
There.
There he is.
Oh! there
Juan
he
Carlos
is. There he
Vasquez,
is.
right
There he
there.
is. Army Sergeant.
And there it is.
New
You know,
Braunfels.
you can go on and you can click and you
Braunfels
can
awesome.
read his story.
Beautiful place.
You can
is.
read everything about him. It's so great.
That's awesome.
The services that they are offering you guys, like you said, financial planning,
Right.
As well as getting you re-involved with education, getting you back started in life. What is it as a veteran nowadays to reintegrate, to come back to life in the States, to come back to life after service? What is that transition like?
Well, I've thought about that many times. It's a question that gets asked several times, just worded differently. And to me, what makes this organization so great is a lot of us who are getting injured, we're in combat MOSs.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not like a financial clerk in the military who's going to come out and get a work job at a bank.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to come to America and start applying for route clearance positions.
Right.
The infantry's not going to
Your
come
position doesn't transfer to the
Exactly.
civilian, right?
Exactly. So it's like a lot of times the frustration level it hits the ceiling, and it's like they tell you, okay, go to school, but now where are you going to live where you go to school? How are you going to pay for that and pay for this? And it just starts to mount up, and it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's having a home.
And
now.
GI Bill doesn't cover all that.
It covers school.
GI
right?
Bill covers your school,
You
bro.
still got to live somewhere.
Yeah.
You got to get to school.
Yeah.
And then so this being that it is a fully given home, I would never have a mortgage payment, right? They actually have a team that they build in 40 states, so they know kind of what every state offers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they tell you, hey, if you're in Texas, this is what you get. You're in Colorado, this is what you get. California. So they kind of put a lot of those things. What do you think you could use of this? And I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. I know I could use that.
Yeah, here are services that are at your disposal.
At your state, right? Exactly. So in Texas, since I am 100% disabled, I don't have to pay property taxes.
That's right.
So I got this free home, and I don't have to pay property taxes on it. So now,
nice.
So now that makes my my retirement check go a little further. Just a little further.
Yeah.
It stretches everything a
especially
little
with
further.
Kids in their preteens.
I was gonna say you got
eat
children,
like monsters.
so that definitely comes into play.
Yeah, you got two critters running around the
I had
farm.
2 kids.
Yeah.
I was wondering about the property taxes because that's a big
Yeah,
house. That's a
and
lot
I
of
know,
land.
like, even if you're not 100, if you're at 10, then you get a certain discount. The higher you go up 90%, you get a bigger discount. But if you're at 100% and you don't pay it on your primary residence, I only own this one house, so I'm not going to buy anything else. But and then you still have to make, you do have to pay the bills, utilities, and all that.
Sure.
But again, that's part of the financial.
That's when you
planning
holler
and
at the
budgeting.
kids, "Hey, turn the lights out, man! Shut the front door, dude!"
Your wife is in insurance, right? So at least
she's
you can have
currently
a little
actually
bit of help.
started working at the church we go to. She's running the child development area.
Great.
Oh, nice.
So it's just a little something to get her out the house. She gets bored.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you're making a retirement check and going to school, Christmas still happens, and New Year's and
That's it.
birthdays.
Right.
And
Life
so just
happens,
having
man.
this, exactly.
Life happens.
Life doesn't pause just to feel sorry for you. So this home, allows us to be able to celebrate those little things. We're not wealthy by any means, but because of this home, we are able to live in a comfortable position. My wife works at the church, and like I said, we don't really have many friends and family besides our church friends, so we don't really go out much, and we're just kind of able to do this until I get my degree and hopefully get a job, and hopefully we'll be able to take actual summer vacations, because I'll be off of work and the kids will be off of school, ideally. So it's great. I know some guys. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier on air or before, but this guy, I think his last name is Amos. He started his own beard oil company.
Yeah, you were mentioning that.
I had a
before.
friend at where he uses beard oil.
Yeah,
I'm
so
like, what the
I
heck?
actually bought one from him. I don't think he knows that I'm a veteran also, and he emailed it to me, and he does a handwritten thank you note on everything he sends.
Nice.
And it's amazing. I know a couple guys going to school for graphic design. We raffled off a book at Pittsburgh that was written by one of the veterans in one of these homes. It's his story. So it just frees you a lot of time to do stuff that you wanted to do before you got injured, or even stuff that you thought about doing but you couldn't because, like I said earlier, it got to be a full-time job just to stay alive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's veterans.
That's it.
I'm blessed enough to where I'm wearing pants when I'm at school.
Right.
People don't even realize I'm an amputee.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, a friend of mine lives down the road. He's missing both legs and his left arm. You know,
and this is down the road from where you live?
Yeah, and he got a house from them also. Like, yeah, and then it's not just him. Now his wife is also a caretaker. You know, she's also helping in showers and. He's as independent as he could be now because he's pretty used to it. But he still does require some assistance every now and then that people actually wouldn't think about. You know, I found with these injuries.
Yeah, until you're in the situation, until you personally know someone in the situation, you really don't realize the regular struggles on a daily basis that go on.
And then the way the laws are with ADA, you can go to any store and mall and be fine. You're in a wheelchair, take the elevator. And then, like, a lot of the struggles really did manifest at home. You know, when you had to shower, or when you're when your wheelchair can't get into the bathroom.
But did you notice that there wasn't a whole lot of access at our convention center, where it was like
I know they had an elevator. That's pretty much.
But it didn't go to the first floor.
Oh, I didn't know. I used to be escalator. I didn't know that.
I was like, it didn't go to the first. How did you get to the first floor? I was like, how did you get to the other floors from the first floor?
Seriously? Was that bad? Holy crap!
Seriously, it was like it goes to the second floor, but it didn't go because if you came in through that east entrance there, it was
now there's a problem.
There was the escalators.
So you have to go outside and around
on the far side of the fountain. There was the escalators
somewhere involved, right?
No, there were escalators. But the convention center underneath, right there by the east entrance, was split by this water feature that was like a water fountain that brought in water from the river, and it was really cool looking.
Oh, yeah.
But there were escalators on each side.
Let's some water.
That area in between is where the elevator went. So it terminated at the second floor. It was like, what the... Which, granted, over by the parking garage, there were some elevators that went all the way down to the first. But
so
it was like,
well,
at that point, you got like easily a 2.5 block roll.
Yeah, the damn engineers,
that's a walk, man.
I'm going straight from this floor to second.
I was telling Julie I had 400 miles almost on my pedo. You know, just you saw me walking around for days, just snaking that convention center floor, much less upstairs. So it was like, good God, I feel for anybody that is on crutches.
You saw this dude doing that? Yeah.
In this situation, you know, and
who's this guy?
To try and understand what it is, like you said, so many people that are amputees, you'll never know.
Right.
You'll never know. Like, you know, they live an absolutely normal life, but there are many people that do not. The scars go a lot deeper because of that.
Right.
And how do we go about facilitating them? How do we go about lifting them up? Making them as able as possible and giving
There's
them...
even laws, I don't know if they're laws, but you know how the government looks down upon, like, vets even having guns. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, stuff like that. You know, there's all these things
That's a different story entirely as far as people coming back and not being able to own guns.
But it's just it's like things that, like, it just...
Well, I think it really boils down to understanding and respect.
Right,
and understanding that there are people who, like I said in the post, have given more of themselves than their life.
Yes.
You know, because sometimes it's harder.
It is. Yeah. And something that I've told my friends, I don't really have talked to many people outside of my little circle, but people look at me when I'm wearing shorts and they look at my leg like that's the worst thing that happened to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they could visually see it.
Yeah.
But for years I've had since.
Even the story that you were telling us earlier, like to know stories like that. I know more than one person that has been traumatically injured in combat, and just to hear their story in and of itself is so moving to me. But to understand that. They went through something that is utterly life-changing aside from any aftermath, aside from anything that comes after that. just that moment in and of itself.
I think that's awesome. Like what Carlos just said, I think if I'm on the same level, like you're saying that like they see that as a visual of like your leg, and like you were saying, they think that's the worst.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not, right?
No, it's
well,
not.
no, and that's just it.
Yeah,
like the whole time you've been
That's
here,
awesome.
and even before, you were talking about how entirely blessed you are.
Yes.
To have had the care that you've had, to have been to the clinics that you've been to have had the doctors that you've had, and the people caring for you, and even the support of your family, friends. This program with Homes for Our Troops, stuff like that, and to know that those support systems are there. Must be a blessed relief.
It is, and something you said earlier, where there's a lot of veterans that come back, and this big homeless population.
Yeah,
and it is something that I was told, and I got to see personally. Is my wife was there by my side almost immediately, and she's still there. And we've been married over 15 years now. She's just a great individual. And a lot of these people, their spouses, whether it's a husband or wife, or even sometimes even parents, are just they're not willing, ready, or able, or any combination of those to take care of this individual.
Yeah.
And now it's like that's got to be the worst feeling in the world. Like to me, that was the scariest and worst point in my life. And I could not imagine going through that alone.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot of these people who veterans who they lose that support system, and then they don't even try to look for that anymore because they've been hurt so bad. So they do end up homeless or not seeking anybody because now you're trying to convince them that I'm here for you.
Not seeking the services that are actually there for them.
Exactly, because because they just got rejected, and they don't want to build anything that they can get rejected from again. And then they just end up getting from bad to worse.
It's a bad cycle. It really is, and it's a hard cycle.
It is,
and one that's unfortunately, like we're saying, suffered by a great contingency.
It is
a horribly great contingency, and the fact that you have found upliftment with your family, with your friends, that you have found renewed purpose in your life. A new path, a new direction, because of the people that impressed such things upon you through your military service.
Right.
Like it was through your military service and the people that taught you that led you to wanting to teach other people.
Right.
And that to me is such a beautiful thing. The fact that you have moved, you have progressed as a person, you have wanted to greater yourself amongst all odds is a beautiful thing. And well, absolutely. I mean,
when you came back, Carlos, was it hard to reintegrate for you?
I think it was, because
really,
some psychologists tell you this, right?
Right.
When you know you're coming home, your body kind of starts to go through this natural decompressing mode. You know you got 2 weeks left, or like a month before you leave, the new unit gets there, and you're kind of teaching them, this is the routes, this is what we do, this is what works for us, and they're going to change some things. It's understandable. And then eventually they take over, and just our leaders go, and we'll stay back. Like,
okay.
And so slowly and surely, you're kind of decompressing, and and the day's coming home. So. But when we get medevac, we don't have that. We went from our craziest, scariest point of our life,
right?
And then
now you're a civilian again.
I gain consciousness here and there, and then some people literally just wake up in San Antonio or Walter Reed. There's many stories.
Holy shit.
And to them, it's like, they're still on high alert, like I was, but they're even more, because I kind of had an idea, dozing on and off. Where I knew when I was in Germany.
You're at one minute you're in combat, and then
you're waking up.
Wherever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just they don't have that decompression. So to them, they're still like, and now all of a sudden is these people, like your people, Americans. Now you go to the store, you go to the mall, and they're like staring at you. Because you're missing a leg, or because you have whatever brace you have on,
right?
And it's just
they're not used to seeing it.
Exactly, it's different. It's different, and a lot of these people, I'm blessed enough to. I'm from Texas. I'm born and raised in Houston. I was stationed at Fort Hood. My wife made the drive to San Antonio.
Nice.
A lot of these kids, they're from other states.
Right.
And they were stationed in completely other states, and now they end up San Antonio,
Yeah.
where they literally don't.
But
know
it seemed
anybody.
more like it was, I mean, a little bit of the decompression for you, but a lot of the outside world or the civilians here kind of like, you know, visually as you came back, you know, the way you looked and stuff. But as for you, how long did it take for you? Was there a point of time? How long did it take you to kind of like, okay, you know, to decompress while you're here?
And to be honest, I don't think I left the house for anything other than rehab for like the first 6 months. They got my family and I a house on Fort Sam Houston. So, you know, that's self-contained. My wife would go to the commissary for the grocery store and PX and buy clothes or whatever school supplies the kids needed. So that's kind of a self-contained little town in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And other than to go to rehab or my appointments that I had to go to, and my wife had to drive me to, I wouldn't leave the house. I would say for about 6-7 months, to be honest. And
Yeah.
even then, after I got a vehicle, it had to be modified because I missed my right leg. So they had to modify it so I can drive with my left foot. And then it's kind of weird.
Kind of, yeah,
and
you
then
gotta
just
get
going
used to it.
some places. And even then, what we chat on earlier, like the face of the veteran has changed. I'm very proud of my military experience and everything that I did.
Of course.
But to me now, I'm at a point where that was a phase in my life, and it's time to move on. I don't wear any military shirts or anything like that.
Right.
And nothing wrong with it. It's just not my thing.
Right.
And you would get, I remember specifically.
Personal preference.
Yeah, I went to Target once and parked in a handicap spot just to get in and get something. And this middle-aged couple was coming out of the store. And
Don't tell me they stopped you or something.
Yeah, the gentleman was like, he said, "Hey man, just because you're driving your dad's car doesn't mean you can park in a handicap spot." And I was like,
You're welcome, bro.
Yeah,
You're welcome. No worries.
Yeah. I rolled my window up, and he stayed there. And he stayed there waiting for me to come out, and I just so happened to be wearing shorts this day. So
at any point during that, did it anger you so much that you went into combat mode?
No. No, I'm not a yeller, so even back then, I've never been a yeller. So it angered me so much that I like stayed quiet. And to me, I was just like, and I rolled my window up, and he stood there waiting for me, and I opened the door and I jumped out, and he looked at me, he looked at my leg, and then he didn't say anything. He just walked away. And then his wife says, "Hey, we're sorry. He didn't know." And I remember I was like, well, maybe he should mind his own business.
Asshole.
Yeah.
And usually I'm pretty reasonable, but this whole time
that even sounds more than reasonable.
Yeah, this whole time he came.
When you're
up to
reasonable,
me,
it's more than reasonable.
and he said that, and he was waiting for me. His wife never once told him, "Hey, leave him alone."
Hey,
Right.
She stood there with him.
Sure.
So when he saw that I was an amputee and I was the and I was the veteran, he didn't even apologize. He just walked away, and his wife apologized.
Did you tell her that you were a veteran?
No, she said. I mean, I guess they drew their conclusion.
No,
and she
need,
apologized for him, and I was like, maybe y'all should mind your own business.
I mean, hey, you could have a heart condition. Yeah, there's 1,001 reasons why you have a handicap parking permit.
So since then, I went and got Purple Heart plates with the DV sitting on them.
Yeah.
Just to
avoid any confrontation.
Just to hopefully some people who are worried about where
that story goes perfectly.
Still worried about you driving your dad's car.
That's what we were saying earlier with the face of the veterans these days. Like how you got judged right away.
Yeah.
And it was what the fuck?
Even me, I look a little older, I think, like, again, there's 21, 22, exactly.
Yeah.
I knew this, right after I got my vehicle, I got hit. The sister platoon got hit. We got hit on a Monday. They got hit the following Monday. And this 19-year-old kid got severely burnt, and he got medevaced out here. So as soon as I was able, I had my wife help me get in a wheelchair, and we go check on him. He spent his 20th birthday in the hospital. 20th birthday in the hospital, recovering from injuries. He's from Arkansas. The first time his mother saw him, she fainted. I mean, he was bad.
Shit.
And then when he got out of the hospital and he's walking around, you probably couldn't pick him out from a crowd now.
She couldn't even recognize her own son?
No, I'm saying, people, you probably couldn't pick him out now. He's just
I see.
He's very energetic. He loves life.
Oh, wow.
He's a young kid.
That's freaking
But it
awesome.
was just he spent his 20th birthday recovering for combat
Wow.
injuries.
From severe burns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just,
And I couldn't tell no difference.
no,
Yeah.
and he's just like a young kid. You wouldn't know it, and it's just again.
Yeah.
And he's a young black male,
Uh-huh.
and you would never guess.
Does he
it.
have any scars? Like, is it under his clothes? or
If you look closely, he
Yeah.
had to get some skin grafts. I think they took it from his legs and put it on his arms,
Mhm.
and you can see where.
But
he
unless
was
you were
burned.
like really like looking, you couldn't tell.
You would see the burns, but like the bumps and stuff, but you wouldn't know what it was until it was
Right.
actually, like you said,
Yeah.
staring at
No
it or
big
something.
deal kind of deal.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like I said earlier. To me, the stories that really move me when it comes to military service is the people who come back. They are injured, yet still they go on with their life.
Definitely,
They
yeah.
keep moving on. They keep going like you and like this young man from Arkansas. Tell us one more time before we wrap up. Where can people go to get involved with Homes for Our Troops? Where can they go to make donations? Tell us one more time what the program is all about.
Yeah, so Homes for Our Troops, it's hfousa.org. There's actually a Get Involved tab where you can get into doing fundraisers, or just spreading the word, or making these one-time or continuing donations. This organization builds fully adapted homes and mortgage-free for veterans, for severely injured veterans, and they build them anywhere in the country the veteran decides to live. The veteran can choose a state or city, or like my wife, be specific and pick a neighborhood. As long as they can find a lot that fits the footprint, and they can come to an agreement on price with the seller, they'll start building it. And a lot of this is donations, 70% public, 30% corporate sponsors. But they do go out and they hire local contractors to build and work on the house, from anything from the ground up, from clearing the lot to putting the light fixtures in. So it benefits the community, it benefits everybody. When there's and then when something they emphasize a lot with these organizations, with these conferences and meetings, when they're welcoming us, is you're not just getting another person that's going to live at the end of the cul-de-sac. You're usually going to get, most of the guys I met in this program, these are people, we have a goal with our life. We have determination. We're going to be involved. We're going to be part of the community. And most of them aren't. They're getting involved. They're doing something. My neighborhood actually has their own veterans program, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's great.
They go
That's
to the
cool.
meetings, and we do things that as a community. I'm not just going to sit back and worry about my house. It's a community. We all look out for each other. And that's what you're getting when you're getting a veteran in one of these communities, regardless of state.
That's right. Absolutely. And thank you so much for
badass.
making it out this evening. Thank you so
thanks for
much
having me.
for homesforourtroops.org, HFOTUSA.org, for coming on the show tonight, for letting us talk with retired Sergeant Carlos Vasquez from the Army 12 Bravo Combat Engineers. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story.
Thank you,
Like I said, I met you at a conference randomly the last day, and it was like, oh my God, because y'all had a pretty busy booth.
And it was
y'all
in
had a lot of
Pittsburgh,
people
I
coming
heard.
by.
Yeah.
And it
So
was
that's
one
cool
of
how
those
you're like nearby.
It worked out pretty good.
yeah. I mean, they were in
I'm like-
Pittsburgh. The organization is actually from Boston,
Yes.
and he happened to be right up the road.
Yeah.
It was like, well, we can definitely have you on Tuesday if you want to come in.
I like how
So-
Chris works that shit.
Magic happens sometimes. Magic happens.
And
And
sometimes it's meant to be, right?
that's right. And
Exactly.
we'd love to have you on again. We'd love
Sure
to talk
thing.
more about this
Oh, there's
as time
many
goes
more
on.
things we can
So-
talk
All right,
about.
you can't tell me that. I be here every night.
That's it. Hey,
You're welcome anytime.
Absolutely. And once again, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for being on. And I'm trying to figure out where our outro is.
Hey,
but
Chris,
there it
lots
is.
of words.
I don't know. Beats me. But we are... there it is. But we are so glad to have you on. We're so glad to be able to help out with homesforourtroops.org. Once again, everybody, please make sure to go by and visit them while you are online. While you're online, please make sure to check us out, dudesandbeer.com.
Yeah.
Also, check out our parent, hcuniversalnetwork.com. Until next time, if you can't be good, everybody, be
Thanks for
good at
listening
it.
to this episode of the Dudes and Beer Podcast. To listen to our audio streams and chat with us live, Download the official Dudes and Beer app for both Android and iDevices, available on the Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.